Alright, hello and welcome back everyone. This is David with Faramir's Rangers, if you haven't guessed already. Yes, we're doing another tournament battle, as you could already tell. The Dutch of the United Provinces taking on France. This is going to be a nice little battle. It's already getting off to a pretty nice little start. And here you can see I'm going to be taking up France in the center. And we got a nice little cav charge put on us by our opponent there, but he does end up losing all of his cav. And you can see the fight is down and dirty here on the hill. Alright, so things have really heated up here on the hill, as you can see. Bringing some cav over to assist my ally as he is getting things under control here. It looked pretty grim. He actually had been broken through. You see the 3 Dutch units had a breakthrough here, so I think the cav came just in the nick of time, and we're going to be able to turn the tide here a little bit with this assist from these 3 cav units. You can see those units are still alive, but we're gonna try to rectify that. As you can see, my ally has still quite a bit of units. The enemy ally of the Dutch has moved up some more of their units to assist in their push up here, but it's a little too late, as things have taken a turn for the worse for the United Provinces. As you can see here, we're just sandwiching their rifles, making a nice rifle sandwich. So they're going to lose both their long-range units on the flank and the majority of the rest of their units there. As you can see, the rest of the battlefield down here, it is getting pretty heated up as well. Let's take a gander. Oh man, we're getting some really good grenade throws thrown on us here. Man, losing those Bulkleys like that is pretty devastating. As you can see, the grenades just keep raining down hell upon us. Dutch does end up losing his militia, but he pounded down the darn Bulkleys there pretty hard. As you can see on the flank, things are going a little better for us. And I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say if it is or not. I don't really like the formations of putting your lines in 5 ranks deep, but we'll see how it goes for us as the enemy is doing the same thing. You gotta remember, you can only shoot 3 ranks deep on line infantry. If you're gonna sit your men that thick, then you need to put them in or spend the money on a guard unit. As you can see here, our enemy opponent of the United Provinces bringing a Holland guard there to flank our French ally at the bottom of the hill. Things are not looking good there. Well, check out this grenadier here that was throwing all those grenades. He's still hanging in there, man. He's still just churning away, throwing grenades. He has no die in him. He's got his dander up for sure. As you can see, the Dutch units in the background are laying down some covering fire for the Grenadier as the Grenadier works his grenade magic upon my French ally here. Luckily, the French units here are getting some shots off on the Dutch, but looks like most of the damage is being inflicted on the Dutch. So, I mean, on the French. So, yeah, there's that. All right, so over here, you can see that the United Provinces has gotten quite a few units stuck into a couple of our French units there. But I think things are going better because we're starting to take the woodland here. Not sure why he gave up the wood so easily. But nonetheless, our French ally over here on the bottom of the hill, or on the bottom of the flank, is starting to turn into the woodland. So that's good. You see here we're getting some skirmish fight going on here. And I'm getting a little bit of the better of the Dutch player here. I will say that I think that this guy who's playing in the center opposing me, I think he was distracted by something because he's a little bit better player than that. But he did exchange some good fire back on me, so it's not like it wasn't a total loss for him. So we'll see the Dutch player in the center, who is doing a fantastic push here, is being forced back because his ally on his right flank has folded back so much that he would be 2v1'd and then eventually 3v1'd because he is bowed out. As you can see on the mini map, there's a little indention by those red Dutch units pushing out. So they're starting to fold back to go to a more secured position. As you can see here, the French definitely outnumber the Dutch down here by a vast portion. So we're starting to win this battle down here. So let's see how the battle is progressing. We know we've won the hill and we're starting to win the bottom. So two flanks are pretty secure and things are looking on the up and up for the France. But make no mistake, we're up against one of the best players in the game here. As you can see, we are starting to sort, so I'm gonna speed this up so we can get to as the battle progresses along. Alright, so let's see what's progressing up here on my side of the field. As we're gonna start our push here to try to sweep the Dutch player off of this position and see if we can pincer in on the player on the bottom. As you can see here, we're going to make a push through the valley region. Going to try and trap in this militia, get rid of it, as it's kind of in a spot where it's going to hinder our movement. So we got to get rid of that darn thing. Even though it's a weak unit, got to get rid of it. So I got a unit meleeing it in the back, and I've got one coming to smack it down in the front. Well, get rid of that darn pesky guy. Alright, so with that done, you can see the Dutch cav is causing us some problem in the background up here on the hill, so we're going to have to deal with it. As you can see, 3 of them, so I'm bringing my cav up and around to see if I can assist my allies so we can sweep that cav off, because if we can't deal with that cav, we're not going to be able to get this position secured properly. So we got to seal off that flank again. As you can see here, the Dutch are starting to push up the hill versus connecting with their ally, which is a big mistake. A big mistake. One that he will actually rectify. And unfortunately, I didn't get to do as much damage on him as I would have liked to. But it is what it is. Alright, so here we go. We're going to make a sweep to kind of clear out the hill. As you can see, my opponent is now trying to reinforce his ally up on the center hill. Alright, so let's take a gander down here. As you can see, our ally is starting to progress further along over here on this flank, pushing the remnants of the Dutch out of this woodland here. Okay, so meanwhile, after that. You can see the French digging in. All right, meanwhile, up on the top of the hill, we are starting to force back the Dutch cav there. So now we're going to be able to sweep them all the way back and down the hill. Like dusting them off like we're bringing them, sweeping them down. So they'll all be condensed up there on the hill. Meanwhile, the Dutch player here is putting up a hell of a defense. The center Dutch player. He's putting up a hell of a defense, keeping two armies of French back because his other ally is dead. So he is causing a pretty good amount of damage and keeping his army pretty fresh. But you can see here now we are pretty much almost bent back the Dutch as they make their race to connect with their ally. And then we'll be able to work in surrounding them. So let's speed this on up. Alright, so looks like our ally is trying to make a movement into the forest, but he decides against it, which is a wise move because we're not quite to that point, as you can see, to apply pressure on the other side. So we're getting there as we're now starting to really hammer down the far right of the Dutch flank over here along the red line of the map. As we have one line infantry pretty well entrenched in there. So I am overlapping my lines, putting continuous fire on him. He's down in there like he's down in like a little dog hole. So we're going to have to root him out. Foxhole, not a dog hole. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, we're going to put some pretty immense firepower on him as he's starting to vacate that position. I think it would have been better off holding that spot. He would have been able to take a little bit less damage down that little ditch. But he runs, and it's going to cost him his life as he bails out. As you can see here, our allies at the bottom have almost pushed him into a complete pincer with us. And they're getting some nice shots off on the Dutch person here. But he is entrenched really nice in the woodland here, and he's going to get a great little volley off on the French guards down here. He's picking some really good targets, hitting the Maison de Rouen. So he's choosing his targets very wisely. As you can see here, the Dutch cav has reinforced the position here that we're overrunning, but the cav is not going to be able to hold up against line infantry, so they're going to have to make a move. We're almost folding them completely over on top of themselves where they don't have space to defend. As you can see here, we got them on the run, condensing up as much as they can into the forest of the center hill. But this is a problem for them. Like I said, they got so many units packed in there that they're going to be, a lot of them aren't going to be able to be useful. So let's see how the Dutch respond to that, as we're making a push now at the base of the hill itself from the top side. And over here, you can see from the Dutch perspective of their defense, which they have a pretty nice defense set up. And over here, you can see our French ally opposing the Dutch from the other side of the hill. Now, the Dutch are going to do a clever little move here because, like I said, they're so condensed up, they've got to do something, but they are defending this ground extremely well, using those blue guards to lay down some havoc on the French units here. As you can see, they're putting a hurting on them through the trees. All right, so things are progressing pretty nicely for us, and we are now pretty much taking out the remnants of this flank from both the the top and the bottom forces of our allies here. So now pretty much all the Dutch are going to be just on the hill. So now you can see at this point in the battlefield, they're completely enveloped, and the Dutch are going to make a breakout move here, which is a really good move on their part. You see the Holland Guard getting some nice shots in, and the Light Dragoons firing in behind and immediately routing a bulky unit from all that firepower laid in on them. And here comes the cav charges downhill. This is going to be pretty devastating for these already depleted French units as they absorb that charge as best they can. One of them forming square. At that point, it's, squares aren't really going to help too much because you see that Holland Guard's just shooting that square up, and that square is about to rout. It's a really bad position to be in. All right. You can see the Dutch are doing really good breaking out. The French cav did come up to try to support, but they are a little outnumbered there. So a Dutch breakout is happening. We still have the one Dutch ally holding his ground here, which isn't probably a bad idea because he is pretty well entrenched. There might be a couple units from one of the other Dutch players. I think it's the Blue Guard, which I'm trying to put them in melee with some of my depleted units to keep them from firing because they are such a strong unit in firing and reload. So keeping them busy in melee is really good because I'm dealing with you can see another Blue Guard back there shooting. So there's two Blue Guards there and another Blue Guard here. I've got two line infantry lined up to get some shots in on that Blue Guard there. Alright, so as the battle is progressing, we are starting to sweep up onto the center hill from two sides. As you can see, I've got them in melee, and I'm going to go ahead and commit to the melee as I have a large force of men, and I'd rather go ahead and use my superior melee attack against the Dutch here and continue to rout out some of their depleted units. As you can see here, my ally is under immense pressure by the Dutch player here, busting out through the bottom and now sweeping along the slope of the hill here from right to left. You can see it sloping downward. So they are making a nice push here. As you can see, those guard units getting some great firing in on my French ally. So things aren't looking very on the up and up for as good as it was looking. The Dutch are really getting in, and now they've completely got freedom of movement with their cav. They're getting shots in on the flank of the French down here at the bottom. So the contain is completely lost. We do still have contain at the top of the hill. As you can see here, we've got this Dutch player pretty well wrapped up, and he is just fighting with the remnants of his unit. Sadly, one of them is a Blue Guard, so that Blue Guard's going to last for quite a while, tying up several of my units, unfortunately. Alright, at this point of the battle, you can see that a lot of pressure is being put onto my ally here, so I've really got to pick up my pace. As you can see, he's getting pushed back, and a lot of damage is being inflicted upon him here as he got his one guard putting some damage back on our opponent. But you can see here I'm starting to sweep the flank of the Dutch player, and it's important I do break through on these two Dutch units that are holding out as best they can against my French melee. We got to get them out of there. It's time to move on from them. Alright. So, here we go. Let's start lighting up that flank. But you can see here the Dutch player, extremely fast to react. He is going to start making another defense as he has already broke the right flank of my French ally, or his left flank. has had a breakthrough. So now he has a parallel line of defense against us. Still one of the Dutch units holding up 3 of mine, which is not good. So I've got 3 French lines pushing down. Getting some shots in on their cav that were coming through the woods to put some shots in on me. So it's an even exchange. I lost some, he lost some. And finally, breakthrough on the top of the hill. So we're going to speed this up as this battle is pretty much over with that. As you can see, I'm trying to envelop him to make sure there's no more breakouts, as he is definitely trapped by my ally on the other flank. So here the fight is going to commence in the woodland. As you can see, his guard really putting some big time damage down on me. I know that guard's got to be close to being out of ammo. I'm at least hoping. But you can see he has done quite a bit of damage to me. So I pull back my line there to keep it alive while I bring in my 3 reinforcement units from the top of the hill that finished off the remnants of the Dutch. Alright, so end of the battle as we look to re-envelop our opponent. So almost 2 times in this battle have we had to envelop our opponent. That just will tell you the tough nature of this battle, because it was definitely a scrap. But it looks like France is going to get their 2nd win of the season, so that's going to bring them to a record of 2-1 and drop the Dutch to a record of 2-2. So neither of these nations is going to be out of this tournament, both in pretty good standings. At least the Dutch are not going to have a losing record, staying at an even 2-2. I'm sure they wanted to stay 3-1, but sadly for them, this is not going to be the case, as France is going to be taking this win. As you can see, pressure is being put on, but they are fighting to the last man here for certain. All right, this should be about it. As you can see, he's losing some of these units. He's pretty darn depleted. We'll speed this on up and finish this battle off. All right, I'd just like to say a very good game to our opponents in this. Really hard fought battle. Thank you. I appreciate you as always for joining in to see this battle. As always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. We'll see you on the next battle.